I'm Matt O'Keeffe, and I'm delighted to be acting as Master of Ceremonies for this year's Macra na Feirme Leadership Awards, sponsored by ABP, the International Meat Group. We have an unusual situation this year insofar as the 6 participants in the final lineup are all female, and we'll be introducing each of them as the evening goes on. But suffice to say that they all have quite an amazing resume in terms of leadership and ideas on how to improve, I think would be the right word, improve the organisation as it faces into the future. They've had challenges over the past 12 months, 2 years, as we all have had, obviously, with the COVID restrictions. And that's why, unfortunately, we can't have a physically sociable event. That we are reduced to a virtual event this year, hopefully for the last time. And now I'll get around to introducing each of the participants from around the country in this year's Macra na Feirme Leadership Awards. The first to join me is Fiona O'Leary. She's from the Carbery region in County Cork and is National Council representative for the region. Fiona, you're very welcome. How are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm very well. And yourself?
Never better. Thank you very much. Slightly discombobulated by this virtual reality, but eventually we're unfortunately having to get used to it. But listen, soon we'll be back into the personalization that's so much part of Macra. You've been very, very much involved in keeping the organization's activities going during COVID. How difficult, how challenging has that been?
Without question, it has been challenging, but we're more than willing as leaders to step up to this challenge. I am the national competitions chairperson, so as such we have been rolling out the competitions in as far as we can in person. So our first competition back was the farm skills, which was last year's final, which ran off this year in August, and then we went on to do this year's farm skills, and on from there. Unfortunately, in the month of January, the competitions were stalled again with high numbers post-Christmas, but we've worked to redesign the calendar and we're hoping to kick off again in February. A really important part of Macra activity is the competitions, which gets new members to join and keeps current members interested.
And one of your favourite competitions, I know, and one of mine as it happens of yesteryear anyway, for debating.
Well, I was lucky enough to be on the Carbery Rainbow team for the first ever novice debating competition last year. We were very lucky to take home the prize as first place in the novice debating, the first ever first place in novice debating. I very much enjoy the public speaking and debating. I did Sir Optimus public speaking in school, and the debating for Macra was a natural progression from there.
I should ask you, as I ask everyone involved in Macra, and most particularly in leadership positions, would you like to be president?
I have given this a lot of thought, and I honestly don't think I would like to be the president of Macra. I feel while I have done the time of standing in gaps and dosing sheep and injecting and all the rest of that, I possibly don't have strong enough information in order to be the president. I don't think I would be fully able to lobby on behalf of the organisation in the way it needs it. However, across the rural youth area and within competitions, I would feel those are my stronger elements.
And of course, as a leader in Macra, you have to balance the work and the life outside of Macra. Is that difficult? It's not a sacrifice, I assume. It's an enjoyable pursuit.
No, absolutely. I work for the health service executive, and they're always accommodating if I need to take a day in order to prep for competitions or compete in competitions. I have a big family. I'm the youngest of 6, so people are there to help me out. A big footprint network both inside and outside Macra, and people understand my love and my passion for Macra, and they facilitate me in the organising that's required in terms of Macra. I probably spend about 2 or 3 hours on Macra most nights, just in terms of phoning people ahead of competitions and getting all the bits and pieces done. But I 100% think it's worth it because it's such a valuable resource for the young people of Ireland.
Fiona, everyone knows that the club is the centrepiece, the cathedral of Macra, really. Without it, nothing else could exist. How important is your club to you?
So my club is Bantry Macra na Feirme, very important to me. A super club which has a relatively short history of its rebirth. So it started after the 2009 Macra Rally, which was one of my first experiences of Macra and all it had to offer. So it just generated from there because just the enthusiasm and the liveliness of the rally, it gripped the town and it went from strength to strength. The club is extremely strong across a number of different areas, and I'm delighted to say I'm part of the Bantry Macra Club.
Macra's strategy enunciates the idea of revitalising and rejuvenating the membership. Your experience both in rural youth Europe and within Macra, how do you think Macra should or could or does it need to revitalise itself?
So I think there is a diversity of the membership coming through at the moment, possibly a stronger focus on rural youth, while obviously recognising the important work we do in terms of young farmer lobby. I think that it's very important for me personally. I am a diabetic, an insulin-dependent diabetic, so I was able to make contributions to our inclusivity policy, which we are working now on in Macra. I'm also a member of the LGBT plus Building Bridges, creating a rural youth, or creating an LGBT plus positive Europe group. And so we're looking at how we can include more people. I'm also, this year as competitions chairperson, set up a working group to review our competitions and to look at all the competitions we have, ways we could innovate them to make them better, and ways that we could bring in new competitions. Blue sky thinking, any kind of competition was on the floor at our last meeting. How would it work? Would it work? Would the members be interested on it? And we just didn't decide that at a top level. We sent out a survey to the membership to make sure that we got grassroots reflection back, and that we know exactly what the membership wants and what the membership will want going forward.
Fiona O'Leary, representative of Carbery region in Cork, and a multifaceted and multi-talented leader. Congratulations on reaching the final, sponsored of course by ABP, and the very best of luck in the future. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate your time. Our next entrant in the Macra Leadership Awards, sponsored of course by ABP, is Emma Kate O'Dwyer from Waterford City. Emma Kate, congratulations on reaching the final 6.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thanks, I'm delighted to be here tonight.
Slight delay on the line, and unfortunately we can't meet in person, but that's just a signal of the times, and soon all to be dispensed with, we trust. And you being a nurse, of course, you're quite familiar with all this viral epidemic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been a tough 18 months, I suppose, but look, hopefully we're coming out the other end of it now, and fingers crossed we'll get there soon.
You work, of course, in Crumlin Hospital.
No, I'm in University Hospital, Waterford.
I beg your pardon.
Keane.
I know now you raised funds for Crumlin.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so we held a fundraiser this time last year, actually, to raise funds for Crumlin. So it's very close to my own heart. And my sister attended Crumlin. So this time last year, we wanted to do something as a club and a county to raise money, but also look after our mental health. So we organised a walk in our own distances, to be safe. So we walked our own kilometres around our local areas, and just totted them all up towards the end. But we donated as we went, and other people donated to support us along the way.
Yeah, and it really has highlighted the value of walking. And of course, Waterford has a marvellous greenway.
Yeah, it definitely does. So some of us live close to the Greenway. I'm actually from South County Kilkenny myself, so I have lots of little walks around my area, but we all walked within our own little areas. But the Greenway has been a great asset to us in Waterford Macra, so we'd meet halfway in between. We'd get a coffee and we'd go for a walk and chat. So it was kind of our way of getting out, keeping social, but also keeping safe at the same time.
You regularly during our chat refer to Waterford City Macra. How important is that club to you?
It's brilliant. It's been a great, like it's been very good for me. And since I joined Waterford City Macra even, I have came out of my shell. So I joined Waterford City Macra about 3 years ago when I moved home from England. And it was great to meet new people and get to know like-minded people within my own area, try new skills, debating, public speaking, different sports, but also meeting people in the local area as well, which have been great friends along the way.
How diverse is the club in terms of the membership and the range of activities that you engage in?
So we try everything, and we're always willing to try everything. So predominantly Waterford City would have been very good at public speaking and debating. But in the last 2 years since I've been chairperson, I've tried to bring in more activities such as, bowling, social events as such, bowling, county walks. We were planning to go to Dunmore East before the pandemic hit. Just trying different activities along the way, I suppose.
If you were to change anything in Macra and the whole Macra strategy is built around the premise of revitalizing the organization, that has to be done regularly, obviously. If you wanted to change something in Macra, what would it be?
That's a difficult one because it is a great organization for what it is, because there's something for everybody. But I definitely think some more social aspects for people to come in. I know we have a lot of competitions, one to suit everybody, the agricultural side, the debating side, public speaking, sports, but I'm going to say something for wellness and more well-being. I know rural youth have been bringing in a lot of things recently to help mental health and different activities to help with that, because people are struggling with their mental health during this pandemic. So something along the lines of a wellness weekend, or more, I'm going to say, I know we have different supports, but more supports along the way, and kind of talk to your neighbour as such, I think.
Yeah, and of course, would you agree with the proposition that the very existence of a Macra club and being a member is in itself a big boost to individual well-being? 100%.
Yeah, I couldn't fault it, because you always have someone at the end of the phone there to talk to. And of different clubs, neighbouring clubs, and around the county, a Macra friend is a friend for life that you can talk to. You might not see out all the time, but you can ring them at any stage or text them at any stage. So it is like a little therapy session in itself, as for all the world.
I know everyone has ambitions in their professional life. Have you ambitions in Macra? Would you like to be president?
Maybe not quite president, but I definitely would like to be, so hopefully in the next couple of years, I'll be on the National Council board, and maybe get to the board within Macra. I have a few members within Waterford City Macra that I would follow behind as National Secretary and possibly National Chairperson. So I'd like to be on the board and make some of those decisions. So possibly, yeah, national chair.
Sounds like a worthy ambition and a stepping stone, perhaps. Who knows where I might meet you in the future. Emma Cato Dwyer, congratulations on making the final 6 in the Macra Leadership Awards, and the best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much, Matt. It was great to meet you.
Another of our finalists in this year's Macra Leadership Awards, sponsored by ABP, is Caroline O'Keeffe from Bantir. Caroline, how are you?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
Never better. You describe yourself in your profile as a proud Bantir club member. Lot to be proud of?
Definitely. We have a great club now in Bantir. There's always something happening, and we've taken part in a lot of competitions, both successfully and unsuccessfully, but it's a great club.
And of course, you've held a number of leadership roles locally and in the region, and you're now National Council rep.
Yeah. So I held a couple of roles in the club, and then I was the secretary of the rally committee in 2019 for the Avondhu rally, and then got elected to National Council rep. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Listen, the whole national end differs substantially from local involvement. Was that a big eye-opener for you, becoming National Council rep?
Absolutely. I think I've learned so much about the organisation, both locally and at a national level, since I took up the role. Things that you just don't see. I think when you're not in the position, you don't see them, because sure, there's no, like, you don't need to know them. And to be honest, I learned so much about the organisation and how it runs, and I suppose the history of it as well, and where we need to go in the future. And it's been really, really interesting. It is completely different from being involved at local level, I think.
Reading your profile again, I'm particularly taken with the 11 peaks in 11 weeks. I know it was a fundraiser for the air ambulance. Tell me a bit about it.
So first of all, I absolutely cannot take credit for that. That was our Munster VP, Elaine Houlihan, and the previous Munster VP, Sean Wallace. But it was, as you said, a fundraiser for the air ambulance in Munster, and also a really good way of getting Munster Macra members out socially and, you know, having a bit of fun last summer. It should be the super summer last summer with the weather and everything. So we basically went out and we climbed a peak or did a walk in every Macra county in Munster. So, you know, obviously there's 5 in Cork and 2 in Tipperary, but yeah, hit every county in Munster. So it was great crack. And there was, I think, over €7,000 raised for the air ambulance in the end. So it was a super way to be involved now over the summer.
National Secretary, I know that's one of the key roles at national level in Macra and Feirme. You're particularly interested in pursuing the development of this mentoring process for young farmers. How important, how useful do you think that could be?
Personally, I think it would be hugely important for the development of young farmers. I was lucky enough when I was in college to have a mentor for a period of time, and I found that to be hugely important and had a really positive impact on me. And like, even outside of farming, within Macra, I have mentors. I think everybody should have a mentor in some way, shape or form, whether it's farming or non-farming. You know, I think it's a really, really important thing to have in your life. And it just, there's someone that you can bounce ideas off of, you know, they'll give you advice, different things. Everyone uses them in a different way, but I've always found them to be really, really positive and beneficial. So I personally think that if it's something that if we can get it up and running, it would be hugely positive for the young farmers in the organisation.
And Caroline, there is, of course, that great dynamic, that great balance between farmers and non-farmers in the Macra organisation. Yourself, of course, you're steeped in dairy farming. You know what it's about when the farmers talk about the busy nights in springtime. Absolutely,
yeah, sure. I suppose there's a huge proportion of our members are farmers, and that's, you know, that's a part of our heritage, and it's, you know, obviously that's a huge topic of conversation in many events, but like, not everyone is, and the non-farming members, like, they're just as important and relevant to the organisation. And I think the organisation is becoming more and more relevant for the non-farming members. You know, obviously the Rural Youth Committee is becoming a huge part of the organisation. They've done so much good work in recent times, but yeah, farming is definitely a huge part of the organisation as well.
The Macra strategy talks about rejuvenating its membership and rejuvenating the organisation. Give me a big idea about how you would like to see a rejuvenation process brought to practical purpose.
I think that there's a number of different things that we can do and should do. Like, the key thing is getting our clubs up and active again, getting them out locally, making sure that people know that they're there and that we exist, and that they're a fun place for members to go. You know, if people want to be active, if we can get new members in the door, that the clubs are a positive place for members to be. But overall, I think, there's a number of different things we can do. There's more activities we can bring in, potentially, or there's a review of the competitions committee ongoing at the moment. I think that could be really positive. Potentially some new competitions or changes to the competitions we have, just to make them a bit more attractive to members. But yeah, there's a number of different things that we can and will be doing, in the future. And I just think it's all about, I think the most important thing is to keep that positive atmosphere and the crack, because that's, that's what brings people in and keeps them there.
Caroline, I'm leading to a question that I've been asking your fellow finalists, but before we get to that, you've held a number of leadership roles. Your favourite one, or the most challenging, or perhaps favourite and most challenging?
I think the last year, in my first year as National Council Rep, I was elected to this position of the Vice Chair of the Ag Affairs Committee. So I think it's a combination of, it's probably both one of my favourites and probably the most challenging, in that it was my first year on the Ag Affairs Committee. So I was kind of thrown in the deep end in that sense, but I really enjoyed getting into the committee and getting involved, seeing that side of it, because I wouldn't have seen as much of the policy side of the whole organisation before that. And I just found it really interesting, but definitely thrown in at the deep end at the same time. But yeah, I feel it's helped give me the opportunities that I have this year, in terms of, it was a boost when I went for National Secretary to have had that previously. And also this year, I'm now chairing Macra's Women and Ag subcommittee. So I feel like that helped give me the confidence to be able to do that as well.
Final question then, as what's his name, Jeremy, says in a different role. Would you like to be president?
I don't know. I suppose theoretically, yeah, I'd love to be president, but I just don't know if for me it's in the future. I don't know. It's not really a question I could answer.
But you wouldn't rule it out. I'm delighted to hear that. Caroline, thank you very much, and congratulations on being one of the finalists in this year's Macra Leadership Awards.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you.
Now, before I introduce the other three finalists in this year's Macra National Leadership Awards, I want to introduce a very special guest, An Taoiseach Leo Varadkar. He is, of course, also Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment.
Steve, it's Mr. Leo Varadkar, An Taoiseach. It's great to speak to you this evening on the occasion of the National Leadership Awards. Thank you to our President, John Keane, and Communications Manager, Stephanie Roy, for the invitation to be here. Last Friday, following public health advice, Government agreed that most of the public health restrictions currently in place could be removed. The efforts of the Irish people, and in particular young people over recent weeks, to reduce social contacts, to take care when meeting others, combined with a high uptake of the vaccines, has made a huge difference. So firstly, I want to thank you, members of Macra and Feirme, for all of your efforts. They have paid off. It has been a very long 2 years, and the pandemic has brought tragedy to our nation. Thousands of lives lost on the island, millions of lives disrupted. And for you, crucial rites of passage had to be done online, or in some cases not at all. Isolation, anxiety, fear and loneliness, as well as hope, solidarity and resilience, have been hallmarks of the pandemic. But last Friday was a day of hope, and a day to look forward cautiously to a spring and summer of freedom, knowing that there will be bumps in the road, but confident that if this is not the end, it is certainly the beginning of the end. Macra over the past 2 years has continued to play an important role in local communities and around the country. While you're a voluntary organisation representing a thriving community of 10,000 young people, you've never shied away from your responsibility to make a difference in communities all over the country. The impact of Macra for me is seen in two ways. Firstly, by the actions you take, the events you organise that have a positive impact on the social, economic, cultural and personal development and well-being of young people, all of whom have a rural connection, including young farmers. Secondly, your impact is seen by how you encourage, inspire and motivate many of the people who go on to run for public office. Lots of TDs, senators and councillors recount to me the positive effects that Macra has had on their lives. And for many of these public reps, the idea of giving back, of being an active citizen, was developed during their time in Macra. So what you do as an organisation is what leadership is all about. The paradox with leadership is that it means different things to different people. we're on a daily basis with a click of a button on Google, confronted with millions of definitions and quotes about what leadership is and what it should be. We've made leadership out of reach of many because we make it really complicated when it shouldn't be. Your National Leadership Awards are what leadership in action is all about. Firstly, contestants were asked to provide an incentive for developing club and county programmes, showing a vision, having a plan and implementing that plan. Secondly, to provide recognition for the effort, showing appreciation, letting people know that their efforts are seen and that they are valued. And finally, to raise the level and standard of leadership in Macra, inspiring and encouraging others to grow and achieve, and putting others first. The truth is, the skills developed in Macra are no different to those I use when making big decisions. My experience of leading is that you have to listen, you need to have the facts, you need to have a good team around you, challenging you daily, and you need ultimately to make decisions. The right ones, sometimes unpopular ones, but always made for the right reasons. You plan, you organise, you problem solve, and you have to make a judgment call. You need to work well in a team, encourage, motivate, and allow others to develop and grow. And you need to stand up and be heard, call out wrongdoings when you see them, and seek to put them right. You don't need any nice quotes, seminars, or expensive leadership books to help you here. You only need to look at the work that you are doing on a daily basis in your communities. The issues, challenges, and opportunities of facing young people have changed over time, and Macra and Feirme has continued to adapt to meet the needs of young people. That is leadership. I know the finalists today, Emma Dwyer, Emma Hurley, Fiona Leary, Caroline O'Keeffe, Sarah Kelly, Grainne McPhillips, have shown leadership throughout the pandemic in ensuring activities were available for young people to engage in. Innovation and creativity were often shown by the finalists by adapting to new technologies. Congratulations on making the national final, and best of luck to you all. In closing, thank you to ABP, which is supporting this year's awards. As an organisation, you dedicate your time and energy to improving the community and all of those who call it their home. The contribution of volunteering to our society has never been more important. And since 1944, Macra has left an enduring mark on maintaining the strength and vibrancy of rural Ireland. And today you continue to be a strong voice for young farmers and for rural Ireland. So to your President and Vice Presidents, continue to set an example and lead the way. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to seeing you in person next year.
Now we're on to our fourth participant in this year's Macra Leadership Awards, and of course sponsored by ABP, the International Meat Group. I'm delighted to welcome Emma Hurley. How are you, Emma?
I'm good now. How are you, Matt?
Never better. Avondhu region, am I right?
It is. That's it exactly.
And you're you've moved jobs within Macra. You were the rural youth officer, and you're now the secretary for the region.
That's it exactly.
Now, tell me, I'm curious because it wasn't a position there in my time. What does rural youth officer, what does that involve?
So it encompasses really everything about being a young person living in rural Ireland. It's a bit of everything. It's farming, it's well-being, physical and mental health. Blood donation was a big part of my stint as rural youth officer. It's a bit of everything. It's a role you can kind of make. You can do whatever you want with, really. I really enjoyed it anyway. There was loads of things I got to organise with it, really, and I got to meet so many people through the officer training that was provided and things like that. And it was a fantastic one, really, because I got to kind of get a feel for absolutely everything in Macra, to be honest with you.
And the club, as I mentioned to your colleagues, the club is everything. For you, it's Ballyhowrah, and you've always, according to your profile, you've placed huge emphasis on the club.
That's it exactly. I wouldn't have gotten involved with this competition if it wasn't for the club, to be honest. They really encouraged me on to take part in this competition, because they felt that the work I did with everyone, with Mike, with the committee and all of our members, when we were coming out of the COVID restrictions, was something important enough to get involved with this competition, to be honest. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed being chairperson of my club now for the last year, and it's really kind of built my confidence. And with everyone who encouraged me on, like, I genuinely wouldn't have actually taken part in this competition without them.
Listen, from the point of view of delegation and building leadership amongst your peers, how good are you at that?
I'm still learning, to be honest. But to be honest with you, I give small jobs to everyone, really. Like, let's say one person might organise the next club walk, or when we normally have an annual barbecue, but with COVID we haven't been able to have it. And I give someone a small job of maybe like bringing like the lettuce for the burgers and something, just small things, just to get everyone involved as much as possible. And it's a skill I'm hoping to continue to develop, to be honest, because it's just been hard with COVID, with things being online and things like that, like trying to delegate to everyone and give everyone a fair shot at being involved in the club, to be honest.
Yeah, it's when the going gets tough, and God knows during COVID, the going must have gotten tough, even in Macra. I mean, there was a real worry that nothing much would happen. You overcame that by, you know, initiating strategies like driving on the Gashka Awards.
Oh, sure, that was fantastic, really. But it was actually a member of our club who was a President's Award leader who kind of said to me, look, this is something that people can get done, and there's about 10 of us in the club who have completed our Gold Gashka, which is absolutely brilliant, and there's a few more doing it at the moment. And that meant that we could go on walks together to get the adventure journey done, and we could go, and we went, what else did we do? Oh, we went to Bota together as part of our residential project, things like that. Just everyone, like, it was something that we all took an interest in, and it got us all out and about to meet each other, really, when restrictions allowed, and it gave us an excuse to have chats on Zoom as often as possible, like. And do you know what, I live not too far from the Ballyhour Mountains, and it gave me an opportunity with a group of people to go and explore them as well. And for people who aren't in our area, it gave them a chance to go and do a bit of exploring as well. So we had a lot of our members were involved, and I'm hoping now I'll be able to push that out to everyone else in the region, to be honest.
Yeah, and speaking of the region, the club and the region, you've had experience of both now, and you know, in terms of administration, is there a big disconnect between club, region and the national element of Macra na Feirme, or do people pretty much understand and appreciate that, you know, the national element is important?
Well, like, in terms of club and region now, I don't think that there's any disconnection between them, because a lot of our members are involved with regional roles. That was something I really wanted to push for while I was chairperson. I was really encouraging everyone to get involved in the region, because it provides more opportunities for our members to get to meet other people and things like that. Nationally, sure, Ballyhour members, we love going to all the national activities. Like, we had a lot of people going to officer training now during the summer, and I think there were 6 or 7 of us went, and that was our opportunity to meet with Elaine, the Munster VP, and their president John Keane. And well, actually it was at the national GA final. One of our lads organised for an informal match between us and another club, and convinced John Keane to play on our team. So you know, I do think that, like, there is, in terms of Ballyhour now, there isn't a disconnect, and with Avondhu there's definitely not a disconnect. There's no disconnection between the club, the region and national level, for me personally.
A final question, Emma. I know you're involved in Macra and commit your time for a love of the organisation and the crack and so on and so forth, but would you describe yourself as ambitious in leader terms? Would you like to explore a role at national level, or even, you know, the John Keane role ultimately?
It's something I haven't actually thought about, to be honest. I just, like, this year now, I just saw an opportunity in the club to help the transition between the COVID restrictions and the pandemic to bring us back to normal, essentially, or as close to normal as we could. And that's kind of been my focus at the moment, that to a stage that I actually haven't thought about like national level, to be honest. I find now being involved with the region now, that's given me an opportunity to kind of further my interests as well. So I'm getting to meet more people again, and it's something, you know, when I finish up on my roles now that I have at the moment, I might sit down and think about, to be honest. It's just something I haven't thought about at the moment.
That's a good diplomatic, if not political, answer. Emma Hurley, congratulations on reaching the final 6 of this year's Leadership Awards. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Sarah Kelly is our 5th and penultimate participant in this year's Macra Leadership Awards, sponsored, as I regularly allude to, by ABP, the International Meat Group. Sarah Kelly from Offaly, how are you?
I'm great, Matt. How are you keeping?
Never better. Absolutely enjoying myself at this meeting another generation of Macra members. You're county chairperson in Offaly.
I am, yes. It's the role I took on, I suppose, just as kind of COVID was hitting its, I suppose, the peak, really. So it's been kind of an uphill battle, for want of a better word. So it has its challenges, but look, it'll all pay off in the end, and it's a fantastic role. And I'm also the Offaly NCR as well, which means I have a seat on the National Council, which in turn means I'm on one of our national subcommittees. And I'm on the Rural Youth Committee, and I happen to be the Rural Youth Chairperson at the minute as well. So it's all guns blazing.
As well as the day job as a primary school teacher, just to keep you busy.
Look, everyone complains about the short hours, so I have to do something to stop them giving out.
I know, there's plenty of work involved. Listen, I'm quite impressed by your profile. One of the leadership traits that you place a lot of emphasis on is praising people who get involved, to put their shoulder to the wheel, if you like.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's based on my own experience, or as I suppose as a teacher, you see firsthand obviously how children respond to praise. And you know yourself, if someone's praising you after doing a good job, you're more than likely going to volunteer to do something the next time around. It's a nice little boost for everyone's self-esteem and confidence. And look, I don't see any point in, you know, there's no point being nasty or kind of negative about things. So yeah, I think praise is a very important trait to have as a leader, and it's important to encourage those around you as well.
I note that you and your fellow county officers have taken what I regard as a very positive departure, in terms of, if you haven't enough momentum, if you like, in Offaly, you've become involved with the surrounding counties.
Yeah, that's right. So I suppose, kind of like I said, kind of a COVID, a lot of, I suppose, Macra clubs and counties might have struggled a little bit. And I suppose I noticed that some of our neighbouring counties were kind of in the same position as us. So I reached out to their TDO, and I just said, look, kind of, we're going to be organising an event. Would you like me to include yourselves? And then, you know, if the time came where they were in a position to organise something, they would be able to invite us as well. So I suppose kind of just giving each other a helping hand, and yeah, kind of getting the momentum going across the board.
Sarah, you're familiar, obviously, with the Macra strategy of getting existing new members to engage in what Macra has to offer. Talk to me about some of the initiatives that you think are worthwhile and have worked.
Yeah, look, I suppose you can't beat the good old face-to-face, getting out and meeting people at events and kind of encourage them, you know, bring a friend along, and getting people to experience what Macra has to offer, because I don't think people realise, I know I can hold my hand up and say I didn't realise what Macra had to offer before I joined. I was playing rugby at the time, I was highly invested in that, I had a good social life with rugby kind of, and I thought like Macra was just something I kind of didn't need. And I've proven myself wrong in that point, because I've gotten so many wonderful opportunities and experiences through Macra. So I think it's important to highlight that as well. We're great in social media, but I think it's, you know, important to keep on pointing the trends. You know, when I joined Macra, maybe Facebook was the thing amongst the young people, whereas now it's kind of shifted to the likes of Instagram and TikTok. So it's important to kind of making sure we're reaching the right audiences and that as well.
You've been quite involved in Macra's sexual health initiative. How receptive, how open are young people, you know, to engage in that subject?
Yeah, well, I think the young people are far more receptive than the older generations. You know, you see in schools even kind of the use of words such as like gay and so on isn't kind of used as a slur or kind of isn't such a taboo word anymore. Just taking that one for an example. You know, kids I think are way more aware, and kind of the younger generation are way more aware as well. And I think it's very important kind of that we do educate our members on these things. I suppose it was similar to mental health. I suppose mental health was quite a taboo thing as well. And Macra has done such a fantastic job in highlighting and raising awareness on mental health. So I think it's important to do the same with both sexual and physical and all aspects of health, really.
Now, I know it needs must in terms of COVID, adopting all kinds of electronic technology, communications have to be kept going. How useful will they prove to be in the future when we're rid of COVID? Do you think we'll continue to use all these new communication technologies?
I think at first, I think a lot of people maybe are experiencing kind of the Zoom burnout at the minute and are looking forward to having the physical events back. But I think no doubt kind of in terms of, you know yourself now, if you're traveling to a meeting, you might, I'm lucky and quite centrally based. From people kind of up north, down south, they could be looking at a 3-hour journey ahead of them. And I suppose it's quite easy for maybe to have an option for them every so often to be able to log on in a virtual capacity, and that they're able to kind of still give their input to meetings and whatnot instead of having to make that long journey every so often. And in terms of like, you know, part of a subcommittee as well, you might need to have short notice meetings or the working group meetings, and it's quite good to facilitate those meetings that are maybe last minute and so on.
Would you like to be involved at national level in terms of policy development, you know, national policy development?
Yeah, well, I suppose at the minute, as I say, we have our 4 working groups in the Rural Youth Committee, and at the minute we're actually looking at creating policies in the different working groups. So I'm quite involved at that level. It is something that's quite new to me, and I suppose I'm quite lucky. I suppose I was on the Rural Youth Committee last year as well, and we had 2 fantastic presidents. We had Thomas Duffy last year and John Keane this year, who are very good at coming on board and, you know, explaining and having the patience to go through it and that, as well as the fantastic staff and other members on the committee as well as past members who, you know, would come on and give a hand. So yeah, it's kind of something I'm at the minute, and it's something, yeah, in the future I can see myself doing, definitely, yeah.
Sarah Kelly, congratulations on being one of the 6 finalists in this year's Macra na Feirme Leadership Awards. Well done, and best of luck in the future.
Super, thanks a million, Matt. It was lovely to meet you.
Our final participant in the Macra na Feirme Leadership Awards, Grainne McPhillips, as Kunde Cavan, Kilna Lek. Conasa ta tu, Grainne?
Tom Rice Gurmina Magot, Stephen.
Quisach ma. I stretch my Irish because you're actually a primary school teacher, but you teach specifically in a Gael school.
Yeah, I do. I teach in Gael School Breffni here at home in Cavan, and I also would have attended there myself as a student many years ago. So it's great to be back, and you know, tan scolig fós agus anachid posti anig fórum Gael so tan which lawn sauce.
Yes, and I know it as, in my opinion, a leadership trait that you developed a course. I mean, obviously you're teaching the students, but you developed a course, an Irish course for the parents. I think that's a great initiative.
Yeah, I did. I suppose because our school is growing and our school community is becoming very diverse, there's lots of parents from different cultures, and that they were all very interested in learning Irish to be able to, I suppose, converse with their children and also help them with the Rubawali and things like that. So we started our Rang na Gaeilge, and they were very successful, and there was a great demand for them. So it's going really well. We're delighted.
Listen, back to the subject in hand. Leadership is leadership contagious? You know, good leaders breed good leaders by association and by example.
I would agree with you. I would agree with that. And I suppose in my own experience, I would have seen a lot of great leaders in action, both in Macra and within my own profession of teaching. And it would inspire you to, I suppose, take the lead and make changes for the better of those around you too. So it is infectious, I would agree. So much so I actually went ahead and I completed a Master's in Leadership and Management, and I finished there last autumn. So definitely leadership would have been something that I would have gotten from all those people around me.
And congratulations on that indeed. It's always noteworthy. Public speaking, you mentioned in your profile that public speaking can be a daunting prospect, and I have to agree with that. It can be. How necessary is it for people to get over that fear of speaking in public in order to develop leadership attributes?
It's very it's very important to be able to communicate your vision and communicate to others what you would like to see yourself, I suppose, within any organisation or within any group you're in. And public speaking for me personally over the past number of years within Macra has been a massive part of my Macra journey. And I've also seen how public speaking and I suppose the training and the skills that can be developed with people through that has been immense, and I've seen the personal development of others develop that and become more comfortable in maybe taking on a leadership role within a club or a committee. So it's very important, but in being daunting, I think you have to just give it a try, and it'll come in with lots of practice and encouragement.
Grainne, I mentioned the Kilnalek Club in introducing you. Tell me a little about Kilnalek, about the club.
Okay, so Kilnalek Macra was, I suppose, restarted again about 9 years ago, and I've been a member for the past 8 years. So currently our club is going very well. We've lots of active members, and most recently we held a Christmas draw in aid of Cavan in palliative care, where we raffled a heifer and we made over €5,000. So it was very successful, and I suppose after the past 2 years where I suppose activity may not have been as frequent due to various restrictions and various things like that, it really got our club going again and really got our members engaged. So it was excellent. So our club's going very well, and we hope now moving forward in the new year that we can press forward with new activities and new ideas that we have.
Well, congratulations on getting 5,000 for a heifer. That's a very expensive animal, but all in a good cause. I note you would be, and I think that's very positive, you'd be ambitious in terms of leadership roles in Macra. You'd at least like to be county chairperson.
Yes, I would. So over the past 8 years, I've held various different committee roles, I suppose, within my club. I'm currently chairperson, and I have been in the past. I've taken the role of secretary, PRO, events and fundraising, and then within the county too, I've taken on roles such as PRO, and I'm currently in my second year as development officer. So moving forward, now that I have, I suppose, my study completed, it would be something that I would like to get. I'd like to give it a go at some point, and also maybe at a more regional level, get more involved with maybe the Northwest Committee moving forward as well.
It would be remiss of me not to ask whether you would have the ultimate goal of being a national president of Macra.
But I suppose never say never. It would be, it's a massive role to undertake, and I suppose it's something in the immediate future I haven't considered, but maybe in the next 5 years or so it might be something that I might aspire to. We've had great presidents over the past number of years, so it'd be lovely to have an opportunity to do something like that. So as I said, never say never.
The perfect answer for a participant in Macra's Leadership Awards. Grainne McPhillips, Goramila Mahagut, and the best of luck in the future.
Good Goramila Freshen. Slán.
Slán lad. Now, someone who had or participated at least in a very difficult decision-making process for the Macra na Feirme National Leadership Awards. I'm speaking, of course, about Seamus Banham. Not only is he representing the sponsors ABP Food Group as communications director of that company, but he was also a member of the adjudication panel who had to find the top 3 from a very, very, very excellent 6 participants this evening. So Seamus is going to address you now.
Good evening, everybody. On behalf of my colleagues here in ABP, I'm delighted to join you here tonight as we celebrate and recognise young leaders of the future. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate all 6 shortlisted candidates on making it to the final stage of the competition. In particular, I'd like to thank them for the huge effort that they've put in preparing for tonight. I know all of them lead busy professional lives, and I also know for a fact that many of them were preparing for long hours over the Christmas break for the semi-finals. Tonight, we've a notable first. For the first time, we have 6 women finalists. So, regardless of the outcome, it is an evening of celebrating the strength of women in Macra and the important and vital role they are playing as leaders in a modern and progressive organisation. Macra has a proven record in producing people who have given outstanding service at the highest levels at community and national organisations. It's no secret that alumni of the association have gone on to hold high office and become significant players across Ireland's business and agricultural and food sectors, and have no doubt that this group of finalists will be no different. I would like to wish Emma Kate, Emma, Fiona, Sarah, Grainne and Caroline every success this evening. Finally, I would like to acknowledge and thank Catherine Snell and her team at Macra for facilitating this event this year. I'd like to wrap up now by wishing the finalists every success this evening, and I hope everybody enjoys the evening. Thank you.
Our final speaker of the evening, fittingly, the National President of Macra na Feirme, John Keane. And of course, most Macra members would know John. He's been up and down the country since being elected last May, but unfortunately, very little social interaction. But in the coming months, I'm sure that will change. John Keane, President of Macra.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction. I would just like to say, on behalf of myself personally, it has been an absolute privilege to be involved in this year's leadership competition. Having been a previous participant last year, I know what all the candidates at the various stages have gone through. And I think it's important we acknowledge and recognise their contribution at all stages throughout the process, but on a wider scale, their contribution to the organisation over the entirety of their careers and their voluntary membership within Macra. Without leaders and individuals within clubs, within our regions, and within our national officers to drive forward and progress the organisation, Macra na Feirme would not be the force that it is today. So I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge all of the members who participated in this year's Leader of the Year competition, whether that be in the early rounds, whether that have been in the round tables at the semi-finals, or whether that be the fantastic 6 finalists that we have for you this evening. I think the 6 finalists have demonstrated the capabilities and the extraordinary lengths and efforts that our members go to progress both club and region. And I want to acknowledge the 6 finalists for their contribution to the organisation, not just over the past 12 months, but I know over many years. Macra na Feirme, as the Taoiseach has outlined, has always been a breeding ground for future leaders. And I have no doubt that this current generation of Macra leaders and members will be no different. Down through the decades, we have always been at the forefront of developing the next generation of great leaders in this country. The competition itself is a recognition of our members and our volunteers for the contribution that they have gone. As the Taoiseach has outlined, there are many different Google terms for what leadership is, but action in practice is one of the most important examples of it. And we have that in spades through our membership base right across the country. As a previous contestant in the competition, I can fully appreciate the value of participating in the competition and fortunate enough to be recognised as one of the leaders of the year. I want to pay tribute to all of those who have entered the competition over a long number of years and continue to develop further once they have moved on from Macra. I'd also like to acknowledge ABP, the sponsors of this great competition, over the past number of years, who have continuously put in the effort and have brought this competition to the level it is. Without sponsors such as ABP, our competitions like this would not be run as well or as smoothly. I would like to thank them for their contributions. I'd also just like to thank the Taoiseach for his engagement with us this evening and for his kind words about Macra na Feirme, and also his kind words about how the organisation has developed and has grown. Finally, I would like to acknowledge and thank all of our grassroots members in clubs and regions right across the country for their continued effort and continued support of the organisation. The past 2 years has been difficult. The past 2 years has brought about many changes. The past 2 years has changed a lot, not just in Macra, but also in many of our personal lives. I look forward to what the next 12, 18 months bring the organisation and each and every one of our individual members. Because without the structures that we have at club and county level, we would not be able to propagate the leaders that you see in front of you this evening. And to the final 6, I would just like to wish you all the very best of luck. You are fantastic examples and role models for our members right across the country, but you also should be very proud of your achievement, and your families, your clubs, your regions should also be very proud to where you've come to this evening. Hello again, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us. I suppose now is the moment everybody has been waiting for, the announcement of the winners of the Leader of the Year competition for this year. So just quickly to go through our 6 finalists once more. We have Fiona Leary, we have Keeffe, Grainne McPhillips, we have Sarah Kelly, Emma Hurley, and Emma Kate Dwyer. With the very best of luck to all 6, and as we've said earlier, it's a fantastic achievement to get this far in the competition and a huge recognition of the effort you've made over a long number of years. So without further ado, the winners for this year's Leadership of the Year Award, sponsored by ABP, are Caroline O'Keeffe, Sarah Kelly, and Emma Kate Dwyer. Congratulations to the 3 winners. And commiserations to the 3 other girls. I just want to say, to get this far in the competition, as we've said before, is a fantastic achievement, and you should be really proud of yourselves. Your family should be really proud, and also your clubs and your regions. It's a fantastic achievement to get to this stage in the competition. And I just want to thank you again for competing in the Leadership of the Year Award. I might just grab a quick word with our 3 winners, if that's okay. Is Caroline still with us there? Caroline, I suppose your initial reaction to being crowned Leadership of the Year winner?
Absolutely delighted.
That's good, that's good. Well, recognition of your hard work over a long number of years, and congratulations.
Thank you, thanks very much.
Sarah, are you still there? Sarah Kelly, you're not disappeared with excitement on us?
No, just about here, John.
That's good. And your good immediate reaction, Sarah, to it? Congratulations.
God, I thought my heart was going to go out to my chest there, but look, absolutely delighted. Yeah, and well done to everyone else who took part. Obviously, it was a high standard, and fair play to everyone.
Absolutely, super. Well, congratulations, Sarah. And Emma, you still with us?
I am, John. Yeah. Like, I'm speechless, and it's as you know, it's hard to get me speechless, but I'm delighted, and it was great with all the girls this year. So congratulations to everyone.
Absolutely. No, and congratulations, Emma, as well. And just to reiterate again to Fiona, Grainne, and Emma, it's a fantastic achievement to get here, and really, really well done to get this far. And I know from the judges, the competition this year was extremely, extremely tight. So look, just to take away from that, and a very well done in getting this stage. I suppose just finally from myself, a couple of brief thank yous. I suppose first and foremost to all our members who have competed in this year's Leadership of the Year competition. I know we've got to the final this evening, and we have 6 absolutely fantastic leaders, but throughout the process, we have had an immense amount of leadership qualities demonstrated from members all over the country. For those receiving the President's Medal, a huge hearty congratulations, and well, and for everybody who's competed in the competition. It's you, the members, that make the difference to our organisation, and just to thank you. To Stephanie and to Catherine and the Macra team, who've worked tirelessly behind the scenes. I know we've had our ups and downs in terms of COVID, and is it in physical or is it online? And it hasn't been easy on anyone. So just a huge thank you to those as well. To Full House Events, I know that Kate is hiding in the background somewhere. But just a huge thanks to Kate as well and all in Full House Events for putting together the programme this evening and the show. It's, as always, very well professionally done, and as always is so welcoming and receiving as well. So thanks very much to Kate and everybody in the background. To the Taoiseach for his earlier address as well, much appreciated, and highlights the role that Macra has, and we look forward to continuing engagement with the Taoiseach as time goes on. Just to our judges, to our judging panels throughout the competition, a huge thank you to all of you as well. Without yourselves as well, these competitions like ours wouldn't continue. And to Matt as well, who's been a fantastic facilitator, coordinator, interviewer, general crack haver throughout the competition and this evening. Just a huge thanks to Matt as well. Always makes everybody feel so at ease, and I think that's a hugely important thing of everything that goes on. And I think that pretty much concludes me for this evening. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'll hand you back to Matt.
Wouldn't we all love to have been part of a social interaction for what is one of the major events of the year for Macra na Feirme, the National Leadership Awards, all concluded now with the announcement of the 3 overall winners by John Keane. And I very much hope that the next time we interact, it will be in a physical capacity. And I might even shed the COVID-induced winter beard. For me, Matt O'Keeffe, thank you very, very much for tuning in this evening, and the best of luck to you all.